Okay, well, we've looked at it now. We've seen how Liverpool have scored goals. Obviously, we've all watched the games and stuff. I want to look to the future now, please, George. And what we'll do is we'll bring Naby Keita into this side and see how that affects things. Okay, that is exciting. First of all, you've taken Gini Wijnaldum out. Why did you choose him to take out?
I chose Wijnaldum slightly reluctantly, and I'm not sure he is the player who's, assuming everyone's fit, is going to come out. But just from knowing what I do about Keita at Leipzig, which is reasonably limited, but just having sort of spoken to kind of guys I know who watch a bit of the side and see, he's very much a box-to-box role midfielder. I think every Liverpool fan knows this now. You know, we're all quite well informed about
the Bundesliga.
Exactly, yeah. Everyone's watching the Leipzig games on a Saturday afternoon. But it just seems to me logical that he come in this position. But it does cause a slight issue because...
Is there an imbalance there now, or...? Because he's not, as we've seen over the last few weeks, we've seen Henderson and Wijnaldum sit in together. Yeah. He's not that guy, but he can be the extra man, can't he?
He can be, and the interesting thing is going to be because, for me, Wijnaldum actually, of all the kind of central midfielders that we look at for Liverpool, so let's say Henderson, Wijnaldum, Chan, who you probably would assume now when Keita comes in isn't going to be at the club anymore, so he's gone out of the picture, Milner as well. For me, Wijnaldum is slowly kind of emerging as Klopp's favourite of those players. Now he does play a different role to Henderson, but I would see Klopp be very, very reluctant to drop Wijnaldum, partly as well just because of the recycling work he does. Mm-hmm. So it would be interesting to see whether Klopp does in fact even trust Keita to play that kind of almost the Henderson role. Whether he's capable of doing it is another thing. And then we've also got a man that Adam Lallana, who some people are forgetting about, who Klopp maybe I said he'd like
more than anyone else. He's his neighbour.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you kind of have to pick Adam Lallana in this Liverpool team partly just because of what he brings. But then you have a midfielder, Lallana, Keita, and Coutinho, and as exciting as it is to say, that doesn't leave us with a lot of defensive options. Do you think Coutinho's going to be there next year? Well, that also, yeah, that's very true. That comes with a whole other caveat of itself. I'm not entirely convinced he will go in the summer, but who knows with these things? I think there has been so much talk, and there's almost has been this kind of acceptance that he could go next summer. But I don't think we can rule him out yet.
So I suppose either way, it probably is as simple as Lallana will fill the Coutinho position for now.
Yeah, I think so.
Or maybe the Thomas Lemar rumours are true. Liverpool could be going in for Thomas Lemar, and as Klopp's done in the past, he's brought a player backwards. So what I mean by that is Lamar's a left winger now, but he could be a guy that Klopp sees as maybe potentially filling that midfield role.
Don't forget we have a right winger now who wants to potentially fill that midfield role in Oxlade-Chamberlain, who we've not talked about at all in this respect, and is a very good footballer. And I definitely think Klopp has an eye to playing him there in the future, even though at the moment he said doesn't feel he's ready for that role. You just look at kind of the defensive duties that he's been doing since he's come in, and that's also a position there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Liverpool shape up going forward. But I mean, Keita's so interesting. I think, you know, you look at the sort of one statistic that's being focused on quite a bit recently is packing statistics, which I personally don't.
Love these.
I know you do. I personally don't work with them, so I'm not going to try and go into them in too much detail because it's not my sort of real area of expertise. But I know Keita is a player who scores very highly in them, and kind of, in brief, I suppose a packing statistic is sort of moving the ball through areas of the pitch in kind of layman's terms. How good is a player at kind of getting it? I think Sakho is a really interesting example.
Sakho was top three as well, wasn't he? So yeah, I think just for Liverpool fans who don't know, packing statistics taken from the moment you receive the ball, how many players are between you and the goal essentially, and the moment that your pass is completed, how many players are in between the goal. So what we're looking at is Keita figures really highly in them, so it might be 8 players, and then when he's played his pass, there might be 3. And it's these type of statistics that we're looking at, and why Naby Keita is so great for us, I believe, and why will be so great, is because when you're playing these sides of a lot of men between the ball, you need somebody who's got an eye for something like that.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. You know, we've started this by talking about teams coming to Anfield and playing a low block. If you can get someone who can get you around the low block, then you're away. It's slightly tangential, but I did always find it really interesting that Mamadou Sakho was, I think, in the top 20 players in the Premier League. He was the only centre half who came into that. And actually, when you look at it in light of the way you've described it, you can see exactly how that works for Saka. I always loved those kind of passes he would play, sort of almost taking the midfield out of the game, straight up the pitch.
There's a risk reward to Mamadou Sakho doing it, but he was very, very good at it, in fairness to him. So how do you think this Liverpool side will play? Is it going to be similar to now, or are we going to see an evolution of the tactics once again?
I think we could see an evolution of the tactics. I think we could see maybe him actually essentially almost opting for it to kind of be a midfield 2 a little bit more, with kind of Coutinho almost playing much further forward and using kind of Keita's legs to get forward and Henderson there. And I wonder whether...
Is Henderson the right man to play alongside Naby Keita?
That's the thing, and I'm... You know, I can't talk for Klopp, but I do get the sense that Henderson is not Klopp's ideal player in that position. But then I wonder whether you go with the current players we have. Is Wijnaldum the right man to play alongside Naby Keita? I'm not entirely sure he is either, because I think Wijnaldum is not defensively sound enough, and he's not a defensive player.
So where would be the final question? Where would be the areas on this pitch that you think Liverpool need to upgrade to accommodate maybe Naby Keita and some of these attacking players that we've got?
Well, one is going to come as no surprise, because it's the position that every Liverpool fan talks. You know, you're looking already at exactly. Everyone knows what I'm going to say.
It may be even as 2 of them.
It may be two. I'm really unconvinced by Matip, but certainly if we're going to play like this, we're going to be playing high up the pitch. So we need defenders who are capable of playing high up the pitch. And Lovren's... I think people sometimes are a bit harsh on Lovren. I think the game in Seville, actually, I thought Lovren had a very good game. I actually really did think he played very well. But the interesting thing with that game was that if you looked at us, so 3-0 up at half-time, everyone knows what happened at 3-0 up at half-time, and you looked at how we set up in the second half there, it was very interesting to watch. It was very much a flat 4 and actually a flat 5 in midfield, with Mane and Salah playing as wide midfielders and Coutinho playing as a centre midfielder, and one of Coutinho, Henderson and Wijnaldum would just go out and come back in. And Lovren was very comfortable there. And I think the only time we've seen Lovren play like that before was at Southampton.
Yeah.
So we know he can do this. This is no surprise.
Yeah, he had Wanyama and Schneiderlin sat in front of him with 2 full-backs who were tasked with sitting in. That's where Lovren looks good. What the difficulties we've got, and would you mind just moving Gomez and Moreno forwards for me slightly, is that I don't think we've got the centre-backs at the football club, and maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, who are comfortable over in these areas, over in space and one-on-one situations. Now, interestingly, Gomez could be that guy to fill in that right spot. He's spent a proportion of the season so far at right back, so he knows how to deal with players' body positions and wingers, tricky wingers when they've got the ball. That could be a learning curve for him for next season, but we are going to need somebody probably who's comfortable in the space there.
I think so. I think Gomez, I was just going to point to Gomez, I think he's a really interesting example, because I think Gomez could be actually one of those 2. He's very young, but I think he's already shown he's got the quality. I think he could already come in there when Nathaniel Klein's back from injury. I think the thing, and this is not actually I've heard other people speaking about this as well, and Klopp said Klopp does not want to play Alexander-Arnold every game, but if Gomez goes in centre half, you don't have another right back.
Exactly.
You know, he's not going to throw Milner in there. He said now, even though Milner did come on at left back in Spain, he's not going to play him as a full back.
Circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Gomez could be one of those, and I think going forward, I would really like to see Gomez get a run at centre half in this Liverpool team. Problem is then that Matip is also quite, you'd say Matip's our best centre half. He probably should be our second best centre half really, but he's quite sort of naturally a right-sided centre back, and Gomez is as well. So that's an issue as to where that happens. But I think Gomez he's shown with his versatility at right back that he is going to be a centre half, very comfortable playing on the half turn. But it's just who comes in next to him. But for me, these front 4, if we can keep them, with the big, if we can keep them, fine, yeah.
And then it's maybe, you're saying, a partner for Naby Keita?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would quite like to see us actually just have a dedicated holding midfielder. Someone who just comes in and actually is just happy to sit and will happily kind of, if you've got Gomez there who can fill in that way, and then you've maybe got a centre half who's happy to go in that way, someone who almost, when we're defending, is actually just happy to sit like that.
Which is quite interesting, actually. You know, we saw last season when Chelsea won the league, David Luiz playing a very, very similar role, but almost from the centre-back position. So what we've seen over the few years in the evolution of the three at the back is, generally speaking, to begin with, when it came into the Premier League anyway, you'd see ball playing midfielders on the right and the left, and what Chelsea and Conte did is have that ball playing midfielder in the centre who's got licence to move up and down vertically. We'd be looking for a midfielder, in your opinion, who's the flip reverse, that he's the defensive midfielder who's comfortable in the centre.
Yeah, I think so. And also, you know, something that Chelsea did was have that, and also as the kind of the right and left ones, or certainly on the right, would play a natural fullback in Azpilicueta.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you've got Gomez there, it's the same kind of thing. You know, suddenly, if you've got this player dropping in, you've got your left back coming back, then your centre half, let's say Matip here was Gomez, is quite happy to step up and come further along. And yeah, it would just be a really interesting way of seeing Liverpool play.
Brilliant, Judge. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. It's been a great video. It's been really informative. If you've enjoyed the video, please do drop a like on it. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, and check us out when we'll be back with more Liverpool news, stats and reviews. Christmas merchandise out now. Click the annotation on the left hand side of the screen or the link in the description. Last Christmas, oh my word, have you seen this design? Could you imagine how many Evertonians you will piss off by wearing this at the dinner table on Christmas Day? Oh yes.